At the sound of a whistle, a bunch of wizards and witches take off on their brooms. Harry says Hermione is flying with a velocity of 6 meters per second. So that means let's get Harry to start speaking. So this is Harry, right? So Harry says, and if Harry says, that means his velocity is 0 meters per second, right? And let us not put the arrow here so that it's easy to subtract and add. So Harry is saying that Hermione is flying with a velocity of 6 meters per second and Ron is flying with a velocity of minus 4 meters per second. Now Fred says, so that means Fred is somewhere there. Fred says Ron, and that must be in a different diagram, because when Fred says Fred's velocity is 0 meters per second, Fred says Ron is flying with a velocity of 7 meters per second and Ginny is flying with a velocity of minus 3 meters per second. So let us write Ginny here. Ginny is flying with a velocity of minus 3 meters per second. Right? Now Fred and Ginny are also in the first diagram, except we don't know their velocities yet in the first diagram. And we have been told that they all collide with each other after 6 seconds. And we want to know what was the distance between Ginny and Harry when they took off on their brooms. Now they are all traveling on the x-axis. Now I am not saying that Harry, Hermione are all arranged in this order. These are just the velocities. So we will figure this out a little later. When they collide, we know the time, it's 6 seconds. So we want to know how far away they were. So that we will work out a little later. Let's get all of them on one diagram. So right now, Harry is the one who is speaking for this diagram and Fred is speaking for that diagram, right? Now I want to get everything onto the first diagram. So if you look at the first diagram, Ron in the second diagram has a velocity of 7 meters per second. And here he has minus 4. So Ron is the connecting factor between the two diagrams. And if I want to get the same velocity for Ron as in the first diagram, I must subtract 11 meters per second. Because 7 minus 11 meters per second would give us minus 4 meters per second. And that will make both of these the same. But if I subtract 11 for Ron, I must subtract 11 for Fred and I must subtract 11 for Ginny. And so Ron is minus 4. So that means whatever Ron is there, that is the same as what Ron is here. So if the velocities are the same for Ron, it must be the same for Fred as well as Ginny there. So Fred's velocity is minus 11 now because I've subtracted 11. So that means there Fred's velocity is minus 11 meters per second and Ginny's velocity is minus 14 meters per second. So that means on Harry's diagram, Ginny is coming towards Harry with 14 meters per second. So if you look at the diagram, Harry, let us say somewhere at this point on the x-axis, and Harry sees Ginny flying towards her, right, with 14 meters per second because she has minus 14. Now this is the positive direction for the x-axis. So that means she must be moving like that. Well, if she was there and Harry was here, she's never going to collide with Harry, right? Probably she wants to meet Harry, that's why she's running so fast, flying so fast. And we know that Ginny comes and collides with Harry, and probably as a joke, everybody else is also colliding with both of them. So they're all going to collide with Harry 6 seconds later. So what was the distance between Ginny and Harry? Well, clearly it is 14 into 6. So this distance is 14 into 6, 14 meters per second into 6 seconds. And so that gives us an answer of 84 meters. So the distance between Ginny and Harry is 84 meters. So that is the answer to this question. Now, if you notice, we have done this entire problem assuming Harry is at rest. Right? We moved everybody into Harry's diagram. Actually, it doesn't matter. If there was somebody else saying that Harry is moving, you can still do the problem assuming Harry is at rest, because what matters is what Harry sees as Ginny's velocity. Now let us say that there is a person on the ground who is 0 meters per second, and this person says that Harry is moving like this with 1 meter per second. Then clearly, since Harry said Ginny is moving with minus 14 and Harry himself is minus 1, if you put minus 1 here, that means you have to add a minus 1. You would add a minus 1 there. Ginny's velocity becomes minus 15, or she is moving 15 meters per second that way, right? So then they won't collide here. Harry would basically be here when Ginny comes and collides with him, right? and Harry is also moving for 6 seconds, so that means he is moving 6 meters, and Ginny is going to move 15 into 6, so 15 into 6 would be 90, so Ginny would be moving 90 meters, and if they have to collide, the gap between them in the beginning must be 84 meters. That was the question. So the question is, what is the distance between Ginny and Harry when they took off on their brooms? It doesn't matter whether Harry had a velocity in the beginning or not, as seen by somebody on the ground. You can do the entire problem relative to Harry, because as far as Harry is concerned, he is not moving, right? And if he is not moving, then wherever Ginny is from, she has to come and meet Harry. And since she is coming at 14 meters per second, and she is going to take 6 seconds to come and meet him, clearly Ginny must be 14 into 6, 84 meters away. And so that is the answer to this question.